The store guy, I think, dropped me off at the store. 5:30. Airport things. What do you think? 8:15? Think we'll be done by 8:15?
Yeah. Unless there's,
I told Austin he has 30 seconds to do his report. I don't know where this 45 minutes shit.
yeah, they come around with a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah.
Tell me when, son.
I've got 7.
All right. We'll call the meeting of the Dunn County Board of Supervisors on Wednesday, January 21st, 2026, room 54, Dunn County Government Center. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for
which stands
one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order would have the clerk call a roll, please.
Supervisor Lawfer is present. Supervisor Breslin. Supervisor Headland is here. Supervisor Score is here. Supervisor Shackleton is present. Supervisor Gary Bjork is here. Supervisor Wilsey is here. Supervisor Quinn.
here.
Supervisor Quinn is joining us online. Supervisor Jetson is excused. Supervisor Bashan is here. Supervisor Kinnear is here. Supervisor Barrier is here. Supervisor Welsh is here. Supervisor Lyon is here. Supervisor Vogel is here. Supervisor McCullough
Is here.
is here. Supervisor Story is here. Supervisor Burnt is here. Supervisor Morehouse is here. Supervisor Hagan is attending. Supervisor Thomas is present. Supervisor Prochnow
Here.
is here. Supervisor Gilbert is here. Supervisor Larry Bjork is here. Supervisor Bauer is here. Supervisor Wolf is here. Supervisor Hartung and is here. And Supervisor Chair Steen
Here.
is here.
Next order of business is the approval of the minutes, November 12th, 2025. You all should have a copy of that. What is the board's pleasure? Supervisor Morehouse? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Supervisor Wolf seconds it. Any corrections, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next order of business is presentation, petitions, memorials, and other communications, of which we have none, but we have a memorial. And I wish, I'd like for everybody to stand for a moment and kind of salute Carl Vandermeulen. He was a honor board member, Carl Vandermeulen, for his faithful and dedicated service to Dunn County as a county board member. He was a good board member and a good man. Thank you. Next order of business is public comment. Do we have any public comment? We have none online and none in person. The next order of business is the appointments. You have the sheet in front of you. The first order we're going to do is we'll swear in the new board member, Cody Gentz. Would you want him up here? I would need a motion to approve. All right, Supervisor Morehouse and Supervisor Burnt, motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign, motion carried.
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of District 19 County Supervisor
of the office of District 19 County Supervisor
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I do so swear.
I do so swear.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sign your oath.
Yes, welcome aboard, young fella.
This is for you. May be seated. Just one second.
The next order of business is the appointments, and you got your sheet there. I would entertain a motion to take those three that need the board confirmation as a group. I would entertain a motion. Supervisor Bauer, is there a second? Supervisor Mashan. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Same sign, motion carried. The rest of the appointments on the second half of the sheet are the chairs, so no vote is needed there. Next order of business is the report of the county manager, 8A.
All right, I will spend a little time up here because, Supervisor Prochno's not here, so I'll make it quick, right? First thing, we have purchase orders over $40,000. You can see that listed in the packet. That is for around $80,000. It's replacing part of the flooring in the jail that was paid for with a jail assessment fee, which is essentially a separate source of revenue that the sheriff's department has for repairs to the jail. I know that they do have some plans to repair more of the floor in the future, but this was for the portion that was taken care of here at the end of last year. Any questions on that?
No questions. Excuse me, Supervisor Hagan.
Yeah, just curious, where does that separate revenue come from? I haven't heard where that comes from before.
I'm not exactly sure specifically where that one comes from. I believe it's due to some of the additional expenses that inmates may pay, but don't quote me on that. I can get you a summary of where that is. I've been meaning to look it up myself. So,
All
but
right,
yes.
sounds good. Yeah, once you find out,
Mhm.
I'd like to know. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd ask County Manager Dunbar to introduce our new Chief Financial Officer.
Yeah. So we have a new chief financial officer. Brittany Andrews is going to come up here and introduce herself a little bit. So Brittany started on Tuesday. So ask her any questions. She knows everything that would ever need to be done. So, all right.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brittany Andrews. Very excited to be able to introduce myself today as the new CFO of Dunn County. As a Dunn County native, I am looking forward to being able to serve the community I grew up in. I want to give you guys a little background on me. The last 14 years, I have worked for a convenience store company doing different overseeing and supporting of financial operations for about 20 locations. During that time, I had gone back to school and I had recently graduated with my bachelor's in accounting from University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Look, have met a few of you already, but I look forward to meeting more of you and then being able to figure out what I can bring to the CFO role to help all of you serve Dunn County. Anybody have any questions for me today? Otherwise, I will be more prepared after I have less than 48 hours.
I see no questions, Brittany, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
But the next order of business is operational planning, and Jenna will address that issue.
Good evening, everyone. I just realized it's been a little bit of time since I've presented last, so for some reason it feels like the first time tonight. But I am here to explain, kind of provide an introduction to the operational planning process that we are planning for throughout 2026 to help inform the 2027 budget planning process. You might think, wow, I think we just got done with budget planning. So we are hoping to kind of get a more proactive position towards budget planning for this next round. So today, again, just wanting to go over our intended outcomes for the process and based on how we have built it. Also explain how the process will unfold over the next few months and clarify how this works in connection to 2027 budget planning. The intended outcomes of this process really are, like I had mentioned, to provide more of a proactive approach to 2027 budget planning. We took your feedback seriously from the budget workshop that we had conducted last year in understanding that there's just not enough time in one meeting to review all of these programs and fully understand all of the nuances with each of those. So we are looking to get a head start on that process and make sure that we have information that is tangible and useful going into 2027 planning. We're also hoping that this will align the limited resources of the county with county priorities that are identified through this process, and also focus the discussion on service levels and priorities rather than line item cuts. So the foundational concept, really the core of this process, will include really what we're calling a service catalog, which will ask departments to define their major services in 2 to 3 tiers, and we'll kind of walk through an example on the next slide. Each tier will explain what level of service we're currently providing it at. We'll have information, we'll dissect information based on what's mandated, and also collect information on the impacts of increasing or decreasing a particular service. This will result in a countywide service catalog that is intended for standing committees to use for analysis over the course of a few months. There we go. Okay, so here's an example of a tiered service level at its most basic form. Parks maintenance, for example, and this is just an illustrative purpose only. This isn't necessarily what we do right now. But tier 1 would be described as the most basic level, the most minimum or meeting the mandated service level. It could include lawns being mowed infrequently, trash emptied weekly, meeting basic safety and sanitation requirements, but nothing more. And an impact to that could be a higher volume of public complaints. Tier 2, this would be kind of a better than basic tier service level. This could include lawns mowed twice per month, trash emptied multiple times per week. And this would likely meet public expectations and lower the number of complaints. Best case scenario, best practice for parks maintenance could look like weekly mowing and landscaping, and could result in higher public satisfaction and community appeal. So again, this is a really basic example. We have a lot of programs that are anything but basic, and so this will be a challenging process. That is why we have planned for this kind of first phase, which includes development of that service catalog, to take place starting now over the next few months in preparation for May standing committee meetings. Kind of in tandem with the development of the service catalog, we will be asking the executive committee to identify 2 to 3 strategic lenses that will be used by the standing committees when they kind of do their analysis. Examples of a strategic lens could be cost versus impact, wanting committees to focus on fiscal sustainability, etc. We're asking the executive committee to set those lenses because they are the budget committee. So again, departments will work to develop that service catalog, and we will be preparing for phase 2, which will look like for May standing committee meetings. Each standing committee will review the strategic lenses that are set by the executive committee. Department heads for each of those programs will provide any external and community data that's relevant to the discussion. And they will also have a look at the service catalog that is developed. With that information, we would then ask standing committee members along with the department and program leaders to conduct really a SWOT analysis, identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and risks associated with those program areas. And also throughout this process, allowing kind of open dialogue and discussion about impacts of any changes to services and things like that. This is really kind of maybe what folks felt like was missing with the last budget workshop process is the ability to really dissect and ask questions and hear from department leaders that are the experts in the field. And we wanted to give the space for that this year. Following that, we will then also ask the standing committees to come back in June and kind of use that first service catalog review and their SWOT analysis to then do a prioritization workshop. The intended outcomes of this would be for the committee to be identifying any new or expanded priorities and also discuss any sort of service reductions and impacts to said reductions and what that would look like. The intended outcome is for each standing committee to be able to provide a list of 3 to 5 top priorities for each area, and also recommendations for including associated service level trade-offs. This is intended to be provided to the executive committee for review at their July meeting into August. And what we would then ask for from the executive committee would be for them to review and provide direction to staff to refine round 2 of the 2027 budget. We typically year over year, I'm not anticipating any major surprises, but year over year for round 1, we start with a pretty significant gap in looking to balance the budget. And we would be looking for this information throughout this exercise to help kind of inform that direction that the executive committee can provide to us in trying to close that budget gap. We will also be working with the executive committee to help us develop a plan for the budget workshop in August, where the entire county board will see kind of the results of this process and help inform any budget planning changes. So today really is about just giving the board an update on what we've been working on. I'm not asking for any action today, but I'm looking for feedback or questions. If you have, I'm happy to meet with you. But really our next steps will include administration working directly with department heads and department managers in identifying that service catalog and preparing those materials in advance of the May standing committee meetings. In the coming months, we will also work with the executive committee to identify the strategic lenses that we will kind of ask for to set the tone for the committee exercises that will begin in May and carry through to June. Any questions? If you think of questions later and you want to reach out, I have my contact information here on the screen, and I'd be happy to schedule a time to meet.
Supervisor Bjork, Larry Bjork.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't have another swing at the cat here because I'm not a member of the executive committee that's making the decisions here. But on the very first slide that you showed, as far as the maintenance on our facilities, for me, it would be kind of nice to know what the basic cost is to the taxpayers of Dunn County if you go with tier 1, go tier 2, tier 3. I mean, I guess we'd be talking about FTEs,
Mhm.
and I would think that would be something,
Yes,
the executive can ask you that, but I'm not going to be there. So
yes.
that's my question, what it costs.
There's very much, there will be a need to match the service level with the cost analysis. I didn't put that in here because we don't know exactly how that will look in our new financial system. But would intend for okay, usually the first round budgets are due in July. So we will be able to then kind of associate numbers with programs. This is going to be kind of the nitty gritty work of it all. But we would anticipate for that information to be available at the budget workshop. Yes, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions for Jenna? I might make a comment if I might. My understanding of it is designed to give the county board a better understanding of all the departments. So when we get to the disagreeable task of having to pare some money from our budget, that we'll be more armed with information and better able to make that decision. But in the end, unless there's some undiscovered revenue source, it looks like this will be a tough year. So I just want to point that out, and I appreciate the efforts that this is going to take for the staff and for management and for us to get a better understanding of what's going on, because when we get to the end of the line, all of these things that we are going to discuss, it'll be hard to do. So am I correct in my outlook? I know I don't dress it up too much, but that's about where we're going. So if there's no other questions, why? Well, Andrew Hagan, Supervisor Hagan.
Thank you. So for all the different tiers for the different departments, the executive committee is going to be looking at those and basing the general start of the budget process off of those, correct?
So what we would be asking the standing committees to do is identify kind of like their synthesized list of priorities and recommendations to the executive committee for them so that they know kind of what's top of mind for each particular program area, and where there is a window for potential trade-offs or discussion about reductions if it gets to that point. And so the executive committee won't be asked to review the entire service catalog. They'll have access to it, but we're really asking that work to be done at the standing committee level.
And then will we be able to look at that catalog as our reference as we move forward through the process so that we can see how the standing committees view their prioritizations of their services?
I would intend that we work with the executive committee to decide the best way to present that information at the budget workshop for the full board.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jenna? Seeing none, thank you very much, Jenna.
Thank you.
Next order of business, number 9, reports of the department. Andrew Murcell, the county clerk, is up first.
Good evening. Typically, we ask the department heads to feature one specific thing because the report of our annual report always has a lot of detailed information. So I'm going to highlight a couple of things because it's my presentation. I can do what I want. Just kind of a quick overview of some of the things that happened in 2025, right? This is the staff. Most of you know them because you got papers from some of them. We're hoping that Jess makes a quick and speedy recovery. She fell whilst skiing and tore all the ACLs, the MCLs, whatever L's happen in your knee. So she's going in for surgery. So if she's listening at home, which I told her to do, we hope that you are back soon, Jess. She's actually going to be in the office tomorrow. We're just going to wheel her around. It'll be fine. Just a couple of reviews on 2025. We saw the largest spring election in Dunn County history in 2025, right? You can see the next closest one was in 2023, where we had a contentious Supreme Court race. 2025, we had a contentious Supreme Court race. In 2026, we will have a contentious Supreme Court race. So we're anticipating higher than average participation in this election. And since you're all up for election, you should be prepared. We're definitely ordering additional ballots just so that we are kind of ready to go. The thing that makes Wisconsin unique, right, the unpredictability. We had no idea that there was going to be this record turnout for the April election last year. And particularly because we saw the second largest shift in the state of Wisconsin between November 2024 and the April 2025 election. Dunn County moved 16 points, second largest in the state. So it's really kind of an interesting thing when we look at the difference in elections, what a few months can make and the ways those things change. You can kind of see here, almost every county in the state made a drastic shift between November 24 and April of 25. Just interesting from a political science geek perspective that I really like to talk about that information. The other thing that happened in 2025 that's unique that we haven't really talked about is in 2023, Wisconsin Act 235, commonly referred to as Daniel's Law, was a law that was passed by the Wisconsin legislature and signed into law by Governor Tony Evers that protects the identity of judges, right? So if judges want their personal information redacted, oftentimes because they put criminals away, right? Or whatever their reasons might be to protect their family. Wisconsin Act 235 from 2023 allowed that. In 2025, Wisconsin Act 7 extended that right to election officials and election registration officials. We really saw increased threats in 2024 to election officials yet again. And so this act last year helped protect those individuals. There was also some additional legislation that increased the severity of threats made to election officials. So it's nice to know that the state is doing some things to kind of try to help protect our election officials and our poll workers, especially our municipal clerks. But one of the really fun things I want to talk about is the Dunn County Housing Work Group. This was a work group that started several years ago and was initially chaired by County Manager Chris Corpola. Since Chris retired, I have taken over as chair of the Dunn County Housing Work Group. And there's been some really great things, right? In 2024, Dunn County Ordinance 2435, that was the ADU ordinance that kind of came out of several different entities, but one was the Housing Work Group. The other thing that we're going to talk about next, development-friendly municipalities. This is a project that we have launched now in 2026, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the final thing is the GARE. Tammy Traxler, who is our zoning administrator, applied for this grant, and it's specifically geared toward housing initiatives. And we got it. Dunn County was the only county in the nation that was chosen for this as a grant recipient. The other grant recipients are places like Denver, Albuquerque, Washington, D.C., and Dunn County. It's quite exciting. So there's not a lot of rural representation for this particular group of grant recipients. So they're actually quite excited for us to be involved because we're going to bring that rural aspect of looking at housing through a rural lens and the challenges that are unique to the rural communities. So that's really kind of interesting. But development-friendly municipalities, I want to talk to you a little bit about this because you might not have heard about it before. This is a project that came out of development from the Housing Work Group. Adam Akala, the Dunn Economic Development Director, Tammy Traxler, our zoning administrator, and I kind of took some of the ideas that the Housing Work Group had been discussing and said, what are some ways that Dunn County can work more collaboratively with our municipalities? Oftentimes, you might have a municipal clerk they're all wonderful, but they're a part-time clerk, right? They have full-time jobs oftentimes, and so they might be clerking between the hours of 5 and 9 p.m., right? Not typically during the business hours. And it's hard then for these part-time clerks to make connections with developers who might be looking at their communities and wanting to talk about building housing development or even business and industry development. And so one of the things we came up with was this development-friendly municipalities, first in the state, because we created it. What this does is we go around and we meet with the municipalities who are interested, and we kind of lay out a whole system and says, let's partner together. If you want to be development friendly, we'll find you the developers that want the kind of housing that you want for your communities, right? If you're wanting only single family homes on 5-acre lots, great. Now we know that, right? And so if we have developers that want to do that kind of housing, we can kind of direct them towards those municipalities. The process for success kind of here is at the bottom, and it might be a little hard for you to see, but we start with the interest, and we do a housing readiness assessment where we talk about tax increment financing, if that's available for the villages or the city, and kind of work the way through the steps in the process, because the ultimate goal is to bring in additional development to help grow the tax base, right? That's a good product for the municipalities. It's a great product for Dunn County, because the more development we have, the larger the tax base grows. So it's an interesting new project. We have launched it. The Village of Wheeler is our first municipality. They are all in. We're meeting with the town of Menominee tomorrow night. We're meeting with Hay River and the Boyceville and several others throughout February and March. So it's just something that we're launching, but there's been a lot of interest in it. And there are certain communities in our county that don't want to see development, and that's fine too. But at least then we'll know that they want to keep the rural character of their communities, and we can direct developers at a place that's more appropriate for what they want to do. That's it. That's my whole presentation. Nice and short. Are there any questions about anything I presented or any other county clerk related activities? And this is going to be hard. Okay.
Supervisor Lyons?
Andrew.
Yeah.
As a former journalist, I take great unction. I don't know, maybe that's not the word I want. Anyway, what's GARE stand for? Unattributed acronyms.
Yes. GARE stands for the government, the government, there it is. Government access, what does it stand for, Diane? It's very exciting, Barb. Yeah. Government assessment of racial equity, racial and ethnic. Thank you. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Google. So Government Alliance on Race and Equity. Yeah. So it's kind of looking at the lens of housing from a very specific route, but from a rural aspect, that's one of the reasons that they're excited that we're participating in that. Thank you for asking that. And thank you, Monica. Any other questions?
I don't see any other questions. Oh. Supervisor Lawfer.
Yeah, Andrew, when you were explaining about the protection for our judges and election officials,
yeah,
what kind of punishment or what kind of teeth is there that's put into this that would apply to people who do threaten our judges or threaten our election officials or whatever? Because it just seems to me like unless you have law enforcement that can enact some form of punishment upon these people, the problem's just going to get worse and worse. I mean, unless you make an example of these people that are doing this, it's not going to get any better.
Correct. And that's why Wisconsin Act 2023-235 really put the teeth of the felony convictions, the various other entities that could make sure that there's an enforceable way to say that if you're threatening the lives of a person who's participating in this program, right? It's not like witness protection, right? The judges still go to work every day. But what it does is that if a person then tries to find identifiable information, it brings additional charges on that person for violating the law, essentially. So there is some teeth behind it, which is helpful. So the exact charges that could be brought depend on the activity in question, right? But there are additional things that will be charged for an individual violating the law. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have more specific examples.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any Supervisor Hagan?
So congratulations on having the first presentation of the year. So my question is kind of for you, but is a little bit more general as well. I was trying to go back to find the presentation from last year, 2024's presentation, and I couldn't exactly find it on the website anywhere or whatnot. Is there a way of having this information easily accessible? Like, I have it on my computer because I save the documents and all that type of stuff, but for anybody in the general public, is there a way we can have these available so that if we have people asking questions, I can bring up, hey, we have this housing program that's, unique to our county. It's here, on the clerk's website, look at this document, that I can point to versus just trying to have them search around.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something I'll bring up to Krista Vind, what is her title? Social media and communication specialist, digital media. We don't know what GARE stands for. We don't know what Krista's job title is, but I'll bring that up because I do think it would be helpful to have a depository of information that people could have readily available. That's a good idea.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Seeing none, who we got here? Supervisor Larry Bjork.
I guess this hits pretty close to home, but when we have firearms not allowed within the buildings, are they allowed in the parking lots of the buildings? I mean, when you have court and you have judges determining where children are placed, and you got one really smart attorney and one really dumb attorney that didn't win the case.
Yeah,
Do we
that's
ever find people in the parking lot with firearms?
yeah. As your county clerk, I'm not sure if I'm best equipped to answer that. I do believe, though, that our Dunn County policy is that we ban weapons in buildings, but not on the premise. So yes, a person could have weapons in their car. Luckily, our judicial center also houses the Dunn County Sheriff's Office and the Menominee Police Department. But I don't know beyond that if there's anything that we could legally do to ban it on government property. But that sounds like a great thing for Jim to look into.
Well, here's the thing. I've heard more than one story where an opposing attorney that just gets done in court and her client does quite well and the other client is pretty upset. And they walk out to the parking lot and they're getting in the car right next to each other.
Yeah.
So, if we don't have to wait for a problem, that'd be great. But I don't know who to bring it up to.
That is great. I will, Supervisor Bjork, I will take that to our judicial center staff and see a more in-depth answer and how we can get that for you. Mhm.
You want to say anything? Yeah, Corp Council's been doing a little research here.
Here we go. Just in terms of the gun issue, I know that I wasn't here when they came up with whatever the policy is here, but I know my past employer, it was a struggle because some folks plan on coming to work and then they plan on going out hunting. And so we actually struggled with that a little bit. In the end, it was more of a ban in the building as opposed to the parking lot for that reason. If somebody is just carrying a weapon to do something lawful, they didn't wish to have people try to nitpick it and look inside the windows to see if they had a gun in there. Yeah, most likely, you're right.
I think also that Corp Council will look into the punishment for, as it relates to Supervisor Lawford's question. So he'll come back and give you a more definitive answer, okay?
Yeah. I will tell you, Supervisor Lawford, that both Act 235 and Wisconsin Act 7 are voluntary. Judges can voluntarily participate in the program to hide their information, as well as elected officials. We, from the election official world, appreciate the attempt to protect us, but it's also hard when we're all elected officials who serve a constituency just similar to you are, and people want to know how to get a hold of them. But there has been some interest from especially non-elected election officials like municipal clerks, poll workers and stuff like that.
Any other questions for Andrew? Supervisor Lawfer?
Yeah, it just, as time goes on, we're having a hard time, getting people to agree to even work in the polls anymore because there's such a stigma going on where, you know, some of it is unfounded fear, but others can be a well-founded fear, true. And if we're going to ask people to voluntarily work in the polls, we gotta somehow make it, you know, to where they don't have to be concerned about, you know, what's going to happen to them if they do. It just seems like we live in a world today where people take up offenses so easily on things, and they take it to such an extreme that they'll just result to violence instead of talking things out, or allowing another person to just have their own opinion on things, you know, and still love them yet, and not want to hurt them or injure them because they disagree with you.
Right.
You know, and as far as the gun thing goes, I grew up in Illinois, right outside of Chicago. Believe it or not, when I went to school, there was people that drove around with rifles in the back of their pickup trucks all the time, loaded. And we didn't have any problem with that kind of stuff. We never did, you know, and now today it's such a world where people are willing to, you know, pick up a weapon and kill somebody just because they disagree with them on something, you know. So I think, you know, we need to, you know, as a country, we need to search our hearts to see where we're at with our fellow man, and we need to get right with God on that stuff, because that just isn't right.
Yeah, and I will say that we do a pretty extensive training program with all the poll workers. And one of the things that I always tell them in the poll worker training is the ways in which they should feel safe and they can protect themselves. But also, one of the great things I love about being the Dunn County clerk is that we're a rural community, right? So when you go to the polls in, let's say, the town of Grant, you pretty much know everybody there, right?
Dude, yeah.
So luckily, because we have that rural nature, I do think that people feel a little bit more of a sense of community when they go to vote, and it keeps everybody feeling a little bit more safe. But
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up, Supervisor Lawfer. It's
Sure. Thank you.
Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you, Andrew. Next, reported departments, facilities and transit, and Austin Witt will do double duty here.
Before I start my presentations, I can answer. I do not have the clicker.
It's up there, so underneath the thing.
Larry's question, a little bit on the summer help and LTE. And just because it's halfway fresh in the memory from when I put together a document for Jenna following that budget workshop from last fall, is currently we have about 1,200 hours annually allocated towards 2 summer helps, so about a quarter FTE equivalent to teachers that help us out during the summer months that are amazing at what they do, helping us with our parks, and they are so efficient at their jobs that as long as we haven't gotten a ton of rain, they can get all of the parks on a biweekly basis, as well as our Dunn County facilities here. With our LTE employees, we don't have to pay benefits and a lot of those fringe costs. So for those 1,200 hours a year to have our facilities department do that same task, that $22,000 turns into about $44,000 if we kept on that same schedule as we currently are. So they've been a huge help, and there's so many different ways that you can look at this and ways to go about it. And that's just one thing that I looked into after that budget workshop and can comment on today. So great question, and we can follow up more to if you'd like. 2 different subjects here, 2 different departments. Andrew said I got 10 minutes on each, so I'm going to use those. He said 30 seconds, so we're at an hour 5 right now, so. All right. Agenda today, talking about financials. This being a January meeting is perfect looking back at 2025. Ridership, fleet updates, team updates, and any questions. Transit Commission, the financials January through December. You're pretty familiar with this layout. Transit's got such a small line item budget. I was able to go into the back end of this and recreate it for you. Facilities is another story. So I went about that a different way, but 13,000 to the good through the end of the year. Only a few big buckets that we were over on budget with just a little bit less staff, me splitting my time, and was the repair and maintenance. We outsourced a lot of that. We focused on driving shifts and other things that we could. And then the fuel budget was a bit over. And then getting the Wi-Fi connectivity in all the buses this year. But other than that, 13,000 to the good through the end of the year. Doorstop and Red Cedar ridership. This is that door-to-door bus service that residents call at least 2 hours ahead of time. We pick you up at your door and take you where you need to go about 7:15 in the morning through 5 p.m. at night. Looking at how 2025 stacks up versus previous years, it is slightly above the 10-year average. So it's doing really well for itself there. And like I'll talk about in a few slides, the ridership on this route looking back a few years ago was a lot higher. But I think a lot of those riders have moved over to the community route with it becoming a lot more efficient, saving money for the customer, saving our capacity for this route for the people who need this bus. The rural doorstop program that we put into place last June, I talked about this being an idea last January that we were going to implement in June. This covers Dunn County-wide. Top right corner, first Tuesday of the month, bottom right, second Tuesday of the month, so on and so forth, with the ADRC of Dunn County being able to fund those rides for individuals up to around $6,000 a year. This was on News 18. This was in the Leader Telegram. Everywhere we could blast the communication. In spring of this last year, we did. Ridership on this route has been very minimal because a lot of times people still need to go from these rural areas, but they need to go to Mayo Eau Claire or they need to go to Rochester, that sort of thing. Looking at the bottom of this slide as well as our volunteer driver rides, where we have individuals that volunteer their services to all the Dunn County residents to drive them to appointments in their own vehicle and get paid mileage. We've had one driver from 2020 up until about late 2025. And so that stayed pretty stagnant where we couldn't take on a lot more for rides. And then in late 2025, we gained 4 more volunteer drivers, including Chris Corpola. So it's been amazing that we've had all the extra help. They don't do it to make money. They do it to help their fellow citizens out. And 29 rides scheduled between January and February of 2026. So we can project that total rides for the volunteer driver program will over double our previous years based on that extra help. So the nice part is about that rural doorstop program is it's there if they need it. It does not cost anything if nobody calls. Community route ridership in 2025, sitting at 20,660. Highest year on record, 73% above the 10-year average. It's amazing to see. It's great for the community. 5 years ago when I started here and a fellow friend said, I see that bus driver around town, but nobody rides it. And I said, well, a goal is for us to change that. And in 2020, when we had 5,400 riders, quadrupling that in 5 years has been awesome for the team to see. Stout route ridership. This is a pretty new calculation that I put together for the Transit Commission is, obviously we have the rides for ridership total, but getting that enrollment data and calculating out the rides per student, because enrollment for Stout, I graduated in 2015 and it was sitting around 10,000, and lately, since COVID, it's stuck around 6,500 to about 6,900, but yet our ridership is close to the top. So the rides per student has really exploded. So they're definitely utilizing the bus. And then this is new data that I've put together too that is in your packet. There's a lot here. And what this is pretty much saying is operational efficiency has improved. If you look at our system expenses for 25 versus 2016, it's 18,000 less. Our passenger count is up. The Menominee population has stayed about the same. The cost per passenger has stayed the same in 10 years, which is pretty awesome to say for the team. And then a fleet update. Those two green and white buses that we put into service about a year and a half ago now have been amazing. It makes us feel like a little bit bigger of a city. 51 passengers versus those cutaways that we used to use on the Stout route could hold 24. So amazing to have for this small community. If I was to price these things out new, our local share would be about 120,000 per bus, with a total cost per bus of about 600,000 to 700,000. We found these on a government auction down at University of Indiana. Go Hoosiers is on the marquee still. If I programmed it to that number. So it's awesome to have. We have about 20,000 in the pair of these. So a good getting our feet in the transit bus pool, and then fleet update, 2 electric buses. We've made some headway on these. I know I've talked about these for 5 years in front of you. And they said within 6 months of signing the updated purchase agreement, which I signed before the new year. Team updates. Dunn County's transit's workforce represents a combined 53.7 years of service, with an average years of service of 5.4, right about the same time that I joined in July of 2020, demonstrating strong balance of experience and new staff growth. Huge highlight is 95,000 miles we put on this year and 0 accidents. So kudos to the team for doing that. We're in 26 now. We made it. Any questions on the transit side? I have a minute and 40 allocated still to this subject. Perfect.
Supervisor Lawfer?
Yeah, what does it cost to charge one of the electric buses up? How much, what kind of a cost to the county it results from a year's worth of charging them or whatever?
I do not know that answer yet, but I can get that back to you. We need the buses on the ground to see what they actually go through in a day, and then summer versus winter, that sort of thing, and peak charge versus not. So some of those calculations are needed. They until we get them here, it's been a little hard to come up with some of these estimates.
And who would you pay the bill to? Who would be billed for the charging of those buses? What entity or what?
So transit is 100% self-sufficient. There's no Dunn County tax levy for it. Dunn County Transit's funds are made up of the local share, which covers 50% of the operating expenses, which is around $300,000 between what we charge the city, university, and then ridership. And then the Human Services 8521 grant for the doorstop bus services. And then the state pays for the rest of our operating expenses. But does that answer? That's the transit expenses and revenue as a whole. But I don't see any difference for the cost to charge these through being on the Xcel Energy grid as of now.
If I might.
Okay.
Go
May
ahead,
I?
Kelly. Go ahead.
So Supervisor Loafer, I can't speak to the buses directly, but if they are comparable with other electrical vehicles, cost per passenger mile will be between a third and half of what similar diesel or regular gasoline vehicle would use. So considerable savings on a per mile basis generally.
Thank you.
I did put together some calculations too, just on cost per mile, just in general versus the gas buses, and then return on investment with these that I presented to the Transit Commission, I believe in the November meeting. And I could forward that on as well.
Thank
That's a
you.
pretty good breakdown. All right, we're a minute over on, oh, sorry.
Supervisor Vogel.
Thank you. So great job increasing that ridership on the community route. That's amazing. The electric buses looked a little smaller. So will they be the community route? I think they originally the stout, maybe students.
Yeah, these are 12 plus 2. They're 14 passenger, 2 ambulatory and 2 wheelchair position buses. So as of now, they're going to be the red cedar and doorstop route, where 2 to 5 people at a time ride that bus. Easier to maneuver in some of these driveways and putting the lift down and stuff like that. That's the goal right now. Maybe a community Saturday route. The ridership on communities just exploded, especially if it's the last week of the university semester, where 20 kids at once are getting on the bus at the clock tower to go to Walmart. So we try to keep that capacity so we don't need to deny any rides.
Any other questions regarding transit? If not, facilities, huh?
Agenda today, department snapshot, financials, parks, judicial, HVAC, CIP, and any questions at the end. Department snapshot, the facilities team. Total years of service is 38, but if we do not factor Greg, one of our best technicians at 21 years with Dunn County, our average years of service in the facilities department is 2.14. These are very complex buildings with the neighbors having a different HVAC system than here, than the judicial center. There wasn't any overlap between a lot of techs in some of these buildings too. So for how new a lot of our group is into the facilities department, they're doing a heck of a job. We're flying pretty lean right now too, with a few people out. We're treading water, especially with all the snow events that we've had, but team has done a great job. And then our custodial team at over 3.5 years for that. So thank you to them as well. Financials. So looking at this as a whole and then looking at these kind of by cost center, NDC, about 13.6% to the good when it pertains to facilities with our maintenance and custodial budget over there. Central transportation, that's our vehicle leasing, 30%. Government center, -11. A few things at the beginning of the year from 2024 overflowed into 25. Hurt us from the get-go there. And then all of our costs for our tractors and all of our non-fleet vehicles kind of get charged there. Judicial center, 2% remaining, as well as towards the end of the year, we took care of that concrete island in the middle of that upper parking lot and took care of that this year. And then plant ops at 3.1% remaining for overall budget remaining of 6%. Brady moved over from NDC to the plant ops halfway through the year. So some of that savings over at NDC is a cause for some of the lower savings in plant ops. but to the good, everywhere we look on the financial side of facilities. Most of these, if we look at the judicial center too, and that HVAC system being at the end of its life cycle where it costs more to fix those boilers and that chiller system. So still to the good even through that. Park power-ups, I spoke a lot on this when I spoke in October, so I'm not gonna go too deep into here, but after we met last time, we were able to get one more park on the docket through that day of caring. So thank you, Jenna, for getting us set up with that for Lake Monoman Park and upcoming parks. Complete Pine View, Lambs Creek, Caddy Woodlawn, and 22 Mile. We did 4 in that first year within 3 months. So at around 12 or so, including a few boat landings. To boot, we're doing pretty well with being able to take care of and fix up half day, 3/4 a day a month every 2 years or so to each of these places. So it's been good. Park website page up in the top right, that's what our Dunn County Parks website page currently is, with a lot of text. I'm looking to get pictures added, like the picture at the bottom of the Russian Slough. 90% of our parks are on bodies of water. Beautiful parks. Getting Google location of these, getting pictures, getting stats of how big these pavilions are, what it has for picnic tables, that sort of thing. So look for some updates to that. And then Judicial Center HVAC RFP. We released the RFP on December 8th. Proposals due March 3rd, and then continue our walkthroughs here in the coming weeks, and then evaluation to come. And then a quick report from Brady, who's still been the lead over at the Neighbors through his operational supervisor duties and facilities as a whole. He's still the life safety liaison over there for facility staff. They've maintained a safe environment and successfully completed all required state life safety inspections with a few minor citations of an off-colored sprinkler head and just something that was plugged into a non-hospital grade outlet. So very small, and great job to the facilities team over there. And then 2026 CIP, a few things on the docket for 2026 in my booklet that I had Andrew send out last week. Goes into a little bit more detail on all the different things that the county board allocated on for 2026. But the main thing I wanted to talk about today was in 2025 capital improvement plan, we had 125,000 allocated to the lower west parking lot there for full replacement. Brady and I met with Brent and Dustin from the highway department, and we all agreed that a few patch jobs could go a long ways, as well as the money goes a lot further with doing a full chip seal on the lower level, as well as the upper levels for preventative maintenance, making it a 5 to 10 year service interval instead of 1 to 3 or 3 to 5 if we seal coated it. So it goes a lot further going about it this way. So looking forward to that. $25 seconds to spare. Yep.
Any questions for Austin? Supervisor Headland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, one thing I guess I have a question about and not a total solution for, but would be to extend the sidewalk along the back of this building coming into the doors at the lower level. That way that could be treated without getting, snow built back up just from traffic. Is that a possibility that, just come along that building curb, move the curb out?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And that would make it so you wouldn't have to get off the sidewalk to get back onto this lower entrance. You can come over from the WIC door and yep, not a bad idea at all.
Any other good ideas or questions? I don't see any, so thank you very much, Austin. Next order of business is 10A, 2026 budget amendment for public health. I need a motion in a second. Supervisor Morehouse moves. Supervisor Hagan seconds. Speaking to this, does anybody want to speak to it? No. Kind of common. We see it all the time, budget amendments. If there's no questions, all those in favor signify by saying, oh, I was wrong. We got to have a roll call vote. So.
The supervisors present will tap their screen to start the vote. Supervisors joining us online on the budget amendments, how do you vote? Supervisor Prochnow?
Yes.
Supervisor Prochnow votes yes. How do you vote? Supervisor McCullough?
Yes.
Supervisor Cullen votes yes. And Supervisor Quinn, do we still have you?
Yes.
Supervisor Quinn votes yes. Thank you. That passes.
The motion passes. Next order of business is number 11, consideration of reports, resolutions, and ordinances coming to the county board from the standing committees. 11A, Committee on Administration, ordinance amending Chapter 7, Financial Management, Meals and Incidentals, first reading. I need a motion and a second, I believe. Motion by Supervisor Headland, second by Supervisor Morehouse. Do we speak to it or we? Not typically. Not typically. We'll be discussing it at our next meeting, so. Next order of business is item 12, next meeting, February 18th, 2026. Make sure you put it in your calendars. Did you get that, Supervisor Morehouse?
Oh. Sorry.
We okay?
Yep.
All right. Put that in your calendars. Having concluded our business, I see no reason why we can't adjourn. Be careful going home, could be slippery. Glad everybody could come here. Stay healthy. We are adjourned.
Okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do like